Hello, and welcome to another episode of Ask the Druids, where here I have Valerie with me, who is a channeler, an empath, and all sorts of different cool things, and is also a friend of mine. So, Val, do you want to introduce yourself to everybody?
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you, Katie. I'm so excited to be here. When you asked me to be on the Druids, I'm like, the Druids are so cool. That's the absolute yes. Like that's not even an option to say no. Like
Yeah.
that. So, so you know what? I'm just like similar to Katie. I channel angels though. So Archangel Michael is my main guide. He's always with me. I channel everybody's own individual guardian angels, personal angels, and then I also do mediumship. And so sometimes it's, just strictly mediumship working. Sometimes it's just working with your angels and my guide. Sometimes it's a combination of the both. So I kind of do a little bit of everything like Katie says. So I'm just excited to be here because it's a fellow Chandler who gets what I do, right? And we're, similar in our energies. So I'm very, very excited. So thank you for offering this to me. So
Well, I knew I wanted you to be a part of this because just how you channel Archangel Michael and some of the other ascended masters, just it always blows me away. So definitely high level consciousness that you work with, just like so many other people, but I love it.
yeah, this is great. So we'll see. I have a couple of questions for the druid, but you never know what, when Archangel Michael gets in here, right? Or Benzight and I have a Japanese goddess. They may be like, we're throwing the druids this question, right? So
Yeah,
it's gonna be like magic. You never know what's gonna come up.
exactly. All right, so you told me today our topic was empaths, is what you wanted to
Yeah.
focus on, which I love that topic. And so they have given me no clue as to what they're going to say. So we never know. So any questions or anything we need to say before we get started?
No, you know what? I was asking when we should focus on, and I heard empath, and only because I'm an empath myself, and a lot of my clients are empaths. And so, I know how the angels talk about that, and some of my guys talk about empathy and being an empath. So I was so curious that I was really curious to see what the Druids have to say about being an empath. So I'll
Well,
let you do your thing.
all right, sounds good. Well, every person doesn't understand that they are empathic, that they do have the ability to feel what others are. But they've been trained and programmed so much to remove that piece of it, to allow for you to not understand the connection that each person has with every other person who is on the planet. And so, with this and doing this and moving forward on these things, is important for all beings out there to understand that when you can lift the veil, when you can move into a higher dimension or density and truly allow for you to truly step into your own place, being time and knowingness, you will also come to find that there is so much more there for you to understand, know, and connect with. For as you can connect with another being, as you can feel what they're feeling, and though it is not taking it into you, which so many empaths do when they absorb it, but be able to feel that, send back the love or the energy that is needed to them. Allow for that transition to happen so that they can feel better and you can support them on their journey. When that comes and that happens, that allows for so much more to be reset, that allows for the understanding, the knowingness, and the connection of who, what, when, where, and why you are both there in that moment in time, feeling that energy that has come. For when the energy flows in, for when there is a statement, an understanding that you are supporting them through their challenge, through that energy, that they are able to walk forward and the two of you are able to walk on your path together. And you may say, well, I walk into a room and I feel it, and then I just have to leave or I can't manage it. And that comes down to, yes, you can feel it, but it is about standing in your power of that you are a being of love and light. And so you give that energy forward, but it is not about absorbing it. Too many empaths believe that when they feel it, they need to absorb it and make it better and transmute it and make it all these different things. But that is not what is there. For when if you can bring in the grounding energy of the earth, bring in the celestial energy from the world, from source, and allow that energy to go out and transmute, that is still giving them what they need, but it is allowing the support and the energy that they can use to support themselves, versus you taking on that negativity and then you have to transmute it and work through it. There is a difference in how those two work. Does that make sense thus far?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, good. So now, as all of that is happening, you say, well, how do I know that I can give out? Or I think I'm giving out, but I still feel it. Well, it is about when you can stand strong in your power, when you can feel that energy coming in, when you can feel yourself being that being of love and light, and allowing for that to shift. Now, it is not to say that there are not times when you want energy to come into you as well, or when someone gives you a hug, when someone sends you love, but it's about understanding how to manage the energies that come towards you. For if a child comes up and gives you a hug and wants to be near you, that is energy you want to come in. But it is not energy you want to come in if someone is yelling at you and pushing back at you and saying mean things to you. That is an energy where you don't want that to infiltrate your auric being. And so as that is all there, it's about learning how to manage that. And you say, well, how do you manage it? How do you work with it? How can you teach others to have an understanding of how this works? And what it truly comes down to is being able to have people understand their boundaries and protections. So people say, oh, I need to protect myself from all that is not there, all that is not of mine. But that is true in a way, but there is still the free movement of energy. If you block yourself off, you will not be able to receive those things that maybe you should, because you're saying, no, it's only mine. I don't want what is not mine. Instead, allow for those things that are there to support you. Allow for those things that are of your utmost, highest, and greatest good. Allow for those things that will allow for the ascension, the learning, and the experiences that are coming from an energy of love and light. When you let those things in, even the person you walk past on the street who smiles at you, that will be energy that you will notice, that you will bring in. It is positive, it is light, it is ready for you. What you don't want to happen is you to block everything out, so you live in a bubble. When you live in a bubble, you don't notice what's happening around you. It is about absorbing. It is about reconnecting, and it is about being one with not only who you are on the planet, but with who every other being and energy is, from the very small bug to the very large person next to you, or to the tree that has been here for hundreds of years. It is about allowing for you to be a part on that matrix, on that energetic and universal grid. For when you live on that universal grid, when you allow for that connection of who, what, when, where, why, and how, because everything is a synchronicity. The person you meet on the street who smiles and you cross paths, that was there for that slight exchange of energy. And you may say, well, it doesn't matter that I walked past them. But there is still an imprint and a movement of that energy between the two of you. And that truly allows for more of an understanding, a placement, and a connection of the two of you being together. Does that make sense?
It does. So, I think that I don't know if it's much of a question or just like, so a lot of empaths, and you're talking about having boundaries. And so listening to you, and something I kind of experienced for my own guys, is that boundaries don't need to be so rigid, right? They need to be more fluid. Is that kind of what you're saying? So that if it's fluid in the moment, you can take in, the energies that are going to be positive for you, right? And then maybe the boundary then is that those that aren't coming in, or as you say, if somebody's yelling at you and so forth, is that where you maybe put up more of a solid boundary, but you have, is that, so what I think I'm kind of saying is that, does boundaries not have to be so rigid all the time, or is like this fluidness going between the two, or the discernment at any given moment of, when you take in energy, when you don't? Like, what's your recommendation? Mm-hmm.
So yes, the fluidity of the boundary or the protections that you have in place is key. So look at it as just kind of a waving part of energy that moves
Mm-hmm.
and ebbs based on what's coming through, what's coming to it. And that giving it its strength, so that when it feels that something's coming towards it that is not right to enter, that it just can bounce it back off. And that those things that are at the right level can come in. You can look at it as a vibration too, or a wave. Things that are at that vibrational level or higher are allowed to enter in, are allowed to mix, are allowed to be there. But if something is not, it is not. For example, you have a window. You throw a pebble at it and it is going to bounce off. It is not going to come through. It is not of its highest and greatest good. But a beam of light and the sunlight that's coming through, that will shine straight through because it is of its highest and greatest good. That might not be the best example right now, but we feel like that is one that is easier to explain. Although the window does not bend and move, it is very rigid, but you understand kind of how we look at it from that standpoint, do you not?
Yes, I actually love that symbolism of that.
So yes, so it's about allowing for that movement and understand that like attracts like. So that when you are at a vibrational level or at a different dimension or at a place where you need to be, that as you are at that level, these lower level things will not reach you or you won't even notice them. And as you work with your energy, auric energy, and as you work with these layers that you have on you, that as you can become one with them and understand when they're in place, when they're not, and they understand what you need and what you don't need, because you're at that fifth dimensional level or that higher vibrational level, that it allows for you to have so much more connections of what has been and what will be. For as this is all coming through, it is also an allowance of knowing that what is there. So build a relationship with these boundaries, protections, and energy that are around you. Allow for you to have an understanding of what your energetic auric field is there doing for you, what you would like it to do, and what can come through. Because even when you have a small child who comes to you, who is hurt, who needs something, who wants to give off that energy, maybe there are times when it is a small child that is yours. You say, okay, I'm going to help absorb some of this, but I'm also going to give back. So I'm also going to give back and understand. So it is about building the relationship with the auric energy as well, to know what can come in and what cannot. But as that child grows and the scraped knee that you wanted to absorb and help move some of that and give them that energy of love and light, when they become older, a teenager, and they need to understand how to utilize this energy and change it, absorb it, and move it. Maybe you don't absorb then. You allow for that sending of love and light to them. You give them the energy that's needed so that they can there, and you are there supporting them on their journey, teaching them how to utilize the energy you are providing instead of just absorbing in. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it kind of goes with what I always say, especially for empaths, is that being empathic is our superpower, but at the same time, it can be our kryptonite, right? And so I love how you're explaining this ebb and flow, this giving and receiving, but it's such in a conscious way, I guess is the key, maybe. Is that correct? Doing it in a conscious way so that when do I receive, when do I give, and help it, feel more natural. That makes sense?
Yes, it does. We're glad
Okay.
it makes sense to you. So what other questions do you have on this topic for us
Mhm.
today?
So I am going to be I'm working with a lot of the elements, and I want to do a class called the Elemental Selves. And I understand, how the angels and one of my guides work with the elements, but specifically for empaths, how do the Druids recommend working with the different elements, like in particular? So how can the different elements help an empath? And is there some sort of practice or ritual or something that they can do, on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to kind of help? So if you can kind of go through each element and kind of give me helpful or, help all empaths, how can you use the elements of earth, for example, to help with all of the sensitivity they have?
Yeah, so the elements are always there and they are part of each being who's on the planet, for they allow for the change, the shifting, and the reconnection of what has been and what will be. So the first one you can think of is Earth. So Earth is there when you can give gratitude to Earth, when you can connect down with Earth, and when you can truly be one with Earth. That is allowing for that to come in. So something as simple as walking through the grass with bare feet, allowing for that energy to flow up, hugging a tree, having that connection with anything that's earthly, being on the ground, but also knowing that you are part of that. You came from the earth and you will go back to the earth. So that is the first element of understanding. It will also ground your energy down. So when an empath is there near the ground or connecting with that earthly energy, it also allows for that energy that they need to let go of to be pulled back down into the earth, to be reused, recycled, and be set back out again. The next you have is water. Water cleanses. Water allows for that emotional release. Water is the element of emotion as well. And with that, it also allows for that reconnection, where water comes in many forms. You can have the heavy energy of the ocean, the salt water, the salt which is purifying, even more cleansing as it protects, as it pulls away. You can feel the energy of what it can do, how it can change, how it can make something, how it can shift an entire landmass with just one belief, one structure change. The ocean and the water in it will do that. You also have the water of rain, which can be cleansing, which can be nourishing, which can be light, and allow for that slow soak in of that cleansingness or of that nourishment. But it also can come down very strong, and it can move and it can change. So water can be used in many forms. The purest form, the purest form is always the best form. However, you can use water in a way that comes directly from a stream, a river, an ocean, or the sky will always be best from a cleansing standpoint. But that does not mean that it is not important for empaths to also take a bath, to allow for that energy to flow out of them, to allow for that to be. But even just sitting with your feet in a stream, allowing for your feet to feel that pull of the energy out, allow for that movement out, or washing your hands under a faucet and feel that water pulling what is no longer needed. All of that can be done with just intention. Feeling that connection to what has been and where they are is something that would be there for them. So the next one you could think of is air. Air is the life force energy. Nothing on the planet would survive without air. Air moves. It can move something from one place to another through utilizing the wind. It can allow for movement. It allows the ground to be cooled. It allows the ground to feed on something else. It allows for the movement and creates that life that is there. Just taking a moment to feel the air on your skin, taking a deep breath, feeling it fill the lungs, feeling it give that oxygen or what is needed will truly stand for what is there. Walking outside and you feel the wind on your face, feel the air coming through your fingers or your hair. All of that is showing that there is life. The wind can push you forward with the air. It can also push you back, but it truly is about that movement of what you need and how to truly live the life that you're looking for. And the last would be fire, the element of transformation, the element of death and rebirth. For when something is disseminated through fire, that you see nothing but ash and destruction. But what you don't understand is the rebirth that is coming, the nourishment that that ash has provided, allowing the seeds and the newness to come through will allow for more newness, vegetation, and a stronger hold on what has been there. Fire can allow for that transformational energy. It can disseminate anything. You take an intention, you burn it in a candle, and that ash that is left, when you put that back into the earth, you're nourishing the earth and giving the earth your whatever you release or your hopes, your dreams, your wishes. Fire can allow for that. Having candles lit allows for that energy around you, working with fire as well. Feeling that energy coming in, utilizing the sun. The sun is the element of fire. It allows for light. It allows for things to be seen. It allows for warmth. It truly gives life, because without fire, human form could not be on this earth. It would be too difficult in many places for it to understand. And without the sunlight at all, human life would not exist. So when you say, how can empaths utilize these? It is about calling on the element that you need at a certain moment in time. Or when you can call on each of those elements, when you can allow for that connection to be there, when you can say, I am feeling I need to release and cleanse away what no longer serves me. You call in the element of water. You don't have to have that element with you. You don't have to have water with you. But feel the energy of that. That will assist. Now, if you have the element with you, it is always better, but it is not necessary. Have each of these elements in your home or near you. In your home, have a candle lit when it's needed. Have earth, have a plant, have something that connects you with that. Have air movement, which air is all around. But if you have a fan blowing or you can feel something in the way of the air, a window open, that is good. And then finally, with understanding that all three of, or four of those are the piece of what is there. You can have a fountain with water as well, an allowance for feeling, hearing, and knowing that that energy is cleansing. Use the element that calls to you most. Use the element that makes you stronger, but also know that its opposite will also give you that balance and that duality of what is needed. Or if you feel yourself strongest in water and you feel that that is where you go, start balancing it with fire. Start balancing it with having candles lit. When you balance it out, you see the duality, and both of it makes you stronger. And then when you balance with the other of air and earth, you will see even more of what is needed, what has been, and how you can become truly set with who and what you are, and an allowance for the growth that is needed. Is that helpful for you?
Gary, you actually answered my next question, is those for those of us who are working indoors a lot, right? How can we use the elements or bring the elements indoors to help us? And, you know, you kind of answered that and with the candles and the fans and so forth. So thank you for doing that. So then my question is that to, you know, being an individual spirit, do some of us resonate more to one element than another, being empath, and how do we recognize that or find that element? And then when we do, so if I recognize, I have a lot of Pisces energy, so I know, you know, taking baths and being around water is really soothing to my you know, my emotions, which all the empaths have. So, you know, for me that's easy, but for maybe somebody else who's not so connected to themselves or understand that, how did they discover their element that most soothes them? And then do you need to balance it out? Because you talked about balancing like water out with the fire energy. You know, how do we know which, how to balance those energies out? You know, I wouldn't know, for example, just my average client maybe wouldn't know, oh, I need fire because I have a lot of water or vice versa. So can you talk to, you know, I think that's kind of two questions. So can you talk to those?
Yes. So
Thank you.
when you're trying to find out what element calls to you, if you are not as connected as other people are, that is looking at what calls to you. Do you like to be by the ocean? Is that where you go when you can, or to water, to the lake, to wherever? Or do you like to go hiking in the mountains? Do you like to truly be digging in the earth and being connected to it? That is on a very simple level of what element calls to you most. How you understand where you are. Do you love being in the sun? Do you like being in different places? Utilize that, first of all, if you can't understand. The next would be understanding your astrological chart. That will tell you much about where you are and can confirm some of your already believed understandings of what is needed. When you can connect in with that, that will tell you where you need to be. The other thing is, even though what is called to you, you may say, oh, I think I'm called to that, but I just don't feel it. Elements will work with you based on what you need at that moment in time. So even though you may say you have a light of Pisces in energy, which is water, which connects you with more water things, you may say, I'm not feeling the call to water. I'm feeling the call more towards earth or air or fire. And that is because that where you're trying to balance out, the earth is truly trying to balance who and what you are and where you are. And so that balance that is created allows for that understanding of hope. It allows for that understanding of all that has been, and will allow for you to utilize that element and that energy. So you may say, I'm water, but maybe you're having problems truly living that life, truly connecting to that energy of growth and development. So you might find that air is more important for you. You want to go stand outside in the wind. You want to be under the tree. You have to have a fan blowing. You have all the windows open in your home. That means that that element is saying, I'm here for you, and you are calling to it, and it is responding back. So utilize what energy you need at that moment in time. But if you find you're unbalanced and you don't know, that is when you can dig deeper and say, okay, what is it that I need? You can call on any of the elements at any time, and that is for anyone. Or you can connect with them in different ways. Or when each of these things come to be said, when each of these things are here for you, you will truly find, understand, and know what has been and what will be, and what your true calling is needed to continue your life in its utmost and greatest way. Did that answer it for you?
It did. I think you were speaking to me because I've been having a lot of windows open. We were talking about the being connected to the water and then needing the element of air. I've been feeling a need to have windows open, right? I have fans going on at nighttime and so forth. I so I think what I'm hearing is that just to really kind of slide in and connect and to trust what your own instincts, for me it would be my intuition, but for those people who aren't intuitive, right? I would say, it's what I'm hearing, and you can confirm this then, is that to trust what your own, what you feel that you need in the moment, right?
Yes.
Is that correct then? So if I'm feeling like I need fresh air, right? It's probably because I do, and I need that element to come into not only my home, but also my body to help support me. Is that kind of what you're saying? Mm-hmm.
Yes, utilize what you need at that time. They're all available for you. So you
Mm-hmm.
are true and you are right in saying that, yes, you need the air right now. But it is also about knowing that that may shift into another way. So don't try to hold on to the air element, but just go to whatever one you need next. You might notice you need candles lit a lot more. You might notice you revert back to water, but go with what calls to you. So many people don't listen to their intuition or to their guides or to their self. They hear, oh, you are water, you need to connect with water. But they go, I don't want water. So it is about listening, is about understanding and trusting yourself. And it's about taking what people tell you, giving the thoughts that they have to you. Take what works for you and leave the rest. Take what resonates. And from what resonates, then you will know you are on your right path. Because when people come to you with suggestions, with thoughts, with ideas, it is about giving you another perspective. And there is a reason why it's coming to you, but you may not need all of it now. There may be one part of it, but then you may revert back to it at a later date for the rest of it. Is that clear for you?
Very helpful.
Okay.
So then, my question then becomes is the sense of that if I'm looking inward, and by the way, I do have a candle burning and I don't always burn candles in the air open. So thank you for acknowledging that, right? It's just acknowledging to trust your intuition and so forth, so on. So is there, we've been talking about, using the elements of receiving the elements for ourselves, which is so important to our well-being. And then just kind of trusting ourselves and balancing that out and what we need. And I loved all the ways that you suggested to get in touch with each element. So I want to kind of flip that over. I almost feel like, is there a way that we can show the elements gratitude, right? Or is, because I know so far we're just talking about receiving all the elements that are going to be beneficial to us. But then what can we do to just say thank you to like the water or the air? Is there some sort of practice we can put into place so that it's like this ebb and flow of, I'm so grateful for you, water and air. Does that make sense? Or give back to the earth? Or, is there any certain practices or any ways besides just saying thank you that the elements want to be honored? Like, how can we honor each and every element? I don't think people ask that or ever talk about that.
Well, the first one is to truly look and to say thank you, as you have said, giving that gratitude back, giving back what you've taken. And it can just be the energy of the love, of the thank you for providing me with this beautiful space. Thank you for giving me a body if you're working with the earth. Allowing the air to know that you are grateful and standing in gratitude for the air you breathe, which provides you with life. That is the simplest way, and that is the way that all can be healed. But you can also say things in gratitude if you are working with a certain element that day. You can also give back to them. For when you can give back, that is all about the connection. So you could do something bigger as cleaning up the ground, cleaning up a pond or a lake, but that doesn't necessarily have to be done in that way. You can give gratitude for not throwing something in one of the elements. Those are very superficial and basic, but it is about honoring each of them as well. Yes, you can do something as ritualistic, say on a solstice or on an equinox, or you can do other things that allow for that, lighting a candle, seeing it burn. But it is truly about just standing in that gratitude, being thankful, putting that energy out, and allowing for that newness and that connection to truly be there. Is that helpful?
Yeah, so it kind of brings to mind, summertime here in Chicago, and obviously everywhere, but we're going to be planting gardens, planting flowers. So just by nurturing, for instance, my flowers or my tomato plants then. So would that be a way of just showing my gratitude to the element of earth then?
It would, but
Okay.
tell it you're thankful for it. Instead of
Okay.
looking at it as, I need the nourishment to feed my tomato plant so that
Gotcha.
you say, thank you, ground, for allowing you to have the nutrients that my plants will thrive. And then within that, they will also put back into the earth other things. As you move things around, as you put fertilizer, nourishment, or food in the ground, that is all about putting back what the plant has taken out, if you are not leaving that plant there to compost or to come back again. So yes, that is a very good way of doing it, but just do it with intention. And
Okay. Love that. Okay. That's great. Thank you.
any other questions you have for us today?
I'm trying to think, the only other question that I would have then is that, is there's, okay. So if I'm going to meet, I think this comes up with a lot of people, especially we're going to kind of revert back to the beginning when you were talking about we're, walking into a room. I hear that from a lot of empaths. We walk into the room and it's a lot of heavy energies, right? But for instance, some of my clients, they're working and they're going to walk into work. Is there a way that they can kind of armor themselves before they know they have to walk into a room, which they have to, right, for work and so forth? So is there, obviously for earth, you can probably hold on to a stone or something, right? But is there a way that they can armor themselves with the element to help protect when they know they're going to be walking into a situation that they need to be in for practical reasons, but don't want to take on all of that energy? Does that make sense? So
Yes, so they can utilize a talisman or a piece. So for earth, yes, they
wow.
can have a stone with them. But they can also just call on that element, saying, Earth, I ask you to stand with me today so that I can be stronger against this energy that should not be there. It is also about working with your auric energy, and that protection and that guide is there to say, this is what should not come through. Stand stronger so that things that would come through before are not. Really set up that boundary of what is needed and what is not. Because if you're going into a space that you should not be in and is not of your greatest good, you can stand up even stronger to have that connection, to have that strength. And when that strength comes to you, it will then allow for the understanding And that will then help in that placement so it does not come through. We know people have to go into places that are not of their greatest good. And we understand that they do that for other reasons. But we would also tell those people, if you have to go in arming yourself with so much protections and boundaries, maybe you need to look for another place to have to go. Maybe you have to see, is this a sign that this is not on your life path or of your highest and greatest good? So are you looking for alternatives? Are you taking the learnings you're getting from being in this place and being able to take them on to the next, understanding what you need and what you don't need so that you can have that strength to move and to truly live a happy, joyous life instead of a life of sadness or unsureness as to how to move forward.
Love that. Thank you.
Of course. Anything else you have for us?
Anything else that you think is going to be beneficial for an empath to hear that they should know that perhaps they don't or not aware of?
I think the thing to understand is that all of this is just energy, and it is about standing strong in your power of who and what you are, where you're going, where you've come from, and how to truly be one with all that has been and all that will be. For each person, as always an empath, some absorb more than others, but it is learning to work with that gift. It is learning to hone it, to understand what it is telling you and look at it as a gift, as a positive part of your life, and use it in the right way. So we hope that is helpful for you and will assist you on your journey. And with that, we wish you good.
Thank you. Oh my God. Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you.
Any questions on what they said or anything you want to?
No, I just found it so fascinating. I was so curious to see, the Druids work with so many of the elements. And so I was so curious of how empaths can work with the elements, right? And to see that. And they answered it really clearly. And they give good, even exercises, some things that you can do, to help that and so forth. So I really thank you and thank them for doing that.
Of course. Well, thank you for being a part of this. I love it when, practitioners, metaphysical practitioners and channelers and other people can kind of ask, because you guys, we all think in a different way doing this work. So you gave some really good questions on empaths. I enjoyed it as well, listening to it. So
yeah, thank you. This was a treat for me to do this. So
awesome. Well, for anyone who wants to connect with Val, her information will be down below. So feel free to get an awesome reading from her, connect with her. And again, if you have any other questions or topics or someone you want to recommend to be a part of this, definitely shoot me a message, leave it in the comments, and I will look forward to seeing you next time.
right. Well, thank you all. This was so much fun. Thanks.